back to the Ask podcast. We are getting well into season 2 right now. We are on our 3rd episode of the season, and we've got a very exciting guest to you who I will tell you about very, very soon. My name is Mrs Jenny Summers. I am the Deputy Head of English and Drama at the lovely John Hampden Grammar School.
And I'm Mark Till, and I'm the Head of English, and there is a clue today.
Ooh.
That is all I'm saying, but there is a clue today.
That is very exciting. But also quick-fire questions too later on, right?
There'll also be a quick
Good.
round.
I'm really into that round, sir. Really into that round.
Yeah,
So are the
great.
boys. Had loads of emails of responses this time. Very impressed.
And when you email, you get a house point, so
Yep.
keep emailing.
I've given lots of those.
And engaging with the podcast.
Absolutely.
Great. It's going to be a good one.
And we've got some interesting panellists, we've got some returners, and we've got some brand new participants today. Let's start with our old favourite, Tom from Year 13.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's producer of the podcast, on the podcast. I can't remember how many I've been on, but I've been on quite a few now. I'm Tom. I'm in upper 6th. I study maths, physics, further maths, EPQ, and music, which is obviously a favourite. And I have quite a vetted interest in musical theatre. I've been to many musicals and operas, and it's a topic I really enjoy. Outside of school, I spend a lot of time with the National Youth Jazz Orchestra as well, so I am music extraordinaire, basically. Yeah.
We're
Shane?
talking about music today, just in case.
Yeah, just in case.
Tom was being really random.
Spoiler alert, that's
we
what
didn't
our
read the
topic's going to be. Shane?
I'm Shane. I'm also Year 13. I study English, chemistry and geography. My, relationship with musical theatre is I listen to it.
That seems fair. That's a good qualification, I would say. And finally, our brand new guest here, we've got Zeke.
Hi, I'm Zeke. I'm also Year 13. I study drama, history and politics, and my relationship with musical theatre is I have a wide relationship with it in terms of I do it inside school and having been in various productions at both this school and the girls' school across the road, and I also do it outside of school, being in multiple other productions not associated with the school.
So we've got quite a pedigree today, Mum. I can see Mum's face. It's like, oh, the nerves are building up every time they talk. But no, she's going to be fantastic. So we finally got to our guest. We've got Mrs Bingham here today with many, many titles. She's head of Year 13. She's deputy head of sixth form. And, of course, she teaches music, as one might expect, given her topic. She's here to talk to us about musical theatre. Not, as I've written at the top of my page, musical instruments, which I have no idea why I wrote that. That was a good slip of the mind there.
I mean, they're involved on some level.
Yes, that's true. They are involved on some level. So we always start off, Mum, with a why question. So why did you go for musical theatre as your topic of choice?
Well, because it's something that has been a huge part of my life since I can remember, really. My eldest sister, I'm the youngest of 3 girls, and we are a bit Von Trapp we all play multiple musical instruments, and Christmas is very much lots of singing carols around the piano and all of those kinds of things. And my elder sister is 12 years older than me and is also a music teacher. And as some of you who I've taught, I've often moaned about the fact that it's really annoying that my doppelganger lives 180 miles away, because she's really useful. She also plays the piano, clarinet, sax, various other things. And she's a fantastic musician and was definitely my earliest inspiration. And one of my earliest memories is when I was about 4 or 5 and my sister was playing in her secondary school production of Guys and Dolls, and my sister was in the band, and I just remember we had the sheet music and she would play the piano and we would all sing the songs. I mean, it's all very, very cliched and a bit cheesy, but we would be learning the songs with her and watching the films and listening to the tapes in the car. That definitely ages me to a certain age bracket. But it was a huge, huge part of my life, and I thought that everybody had older siblings who played multiple instruments and were playing in concerts and shows and all of this kind of stuff. And so right from a very early age, and then all the way through secondary school, I took part in school productions, as you do. And then when I was about 16, my other sister, who is in the middle, she's only a year older than me, she plays the clarinet and I play the flute. And through our instrumental teachers, we started being asked to play in the pit orchestras of local theatres. And it was just so much fun, because you get to sit in the dark and eat chocolate and listen to and see what's on. And occasionally, if you're really lucky, you can see what's going on stage. You can kind of see an elbow or, a bit of what's going on. And it's just that camaraderie of being in theatre. For me, it's such a wonderful experience. And so that's kind of where it came from. And when I got to university, I did let's call it a straight music degree, as in classical music degree. I'm very much classically trained, you know, all the way through. And musical theatre was something that I'd done sort of alongside all the orchestras and all the classical things that I'd done at home. But you got paid for it. I used to get paid for playing in shows. I was like, this is easy money, you know. And I used to get paid in cash on a Saturday night. It was fantastic. And when I got to university, we had lots of musical theatre ensembles and groups and things. And I can sight read, can't I, Tom?
Very well.
That is my superpower. For those of you who do not know what I mean by that, my piano playing is definitely of a fly by the seat of your pants, make it up as you go along variety. But
Jazz. That's jazz.
just an excuse to play wrong notes. I'll
say
definitely
that,
go,
Mum.
I'm sorry, I don't mean it. But I literally have no fear. So having grown up playing music all the time at home, you can put a score of something in front of me and I can pretty much usually just play it. Make it up so it sounds vaguely right, unless it's on time, in which case nobody knows what it's supposed to sound like anyway, so it doesn't matter. But and so when I got to university, people sort of said, oh, we need someone to play for the dance rehearsals, can you know, and I ended up playing the piano in lots of shows, and then that turned into musical directing and then continued from there, really. That was a long answer, sorry.
No, it was a good answer. It was very full. I've written lots of stuff down, and now I'm looking at Sir to...
Oh, let's open it to the panel, maybe.
Oh,
to
okay.
start with.
Fine.
Oh, nervous now. Go for it.
My probably opening question is, what is your favourite show you've MD'd, and why was it your
Oh,
favourite
my
show?
favourite show I've MD'd, probably Chorus Line.
Ooh.
And I love a chorus line, and it's one of those ones, it won a Pulitzer. So it's not just Hamilton that won a Pulitzer. You know, there's other stuff. But the thing I love most about Chorus Line is it's a really interesting show because it's all an audition. It's a show within a show. It's very meta. It's a bit like, and a show within a show is a real musical theatre sort of trope. So everything from sort of Singing in the Rain, all of these great musicals which are, there's an act of putting on a show within the storyline of the show. And a chorus line is a whole show about an audition process, and each cast member is examined in detail. And because obviously normally in a chorus you don't notice, in a show you don't notice the chorus, they are essentially invisible. They're the dancers, they're the trees, and they're the cast characters in Who Will Buy an Oliver or something like that. They are not part and parcel of the story. And a chorus line interviews each one of them in detail, and it talks about how, and it's based on real interviews with real Broadway stars from the 70s. And there's an amazing documentary that I saw about 10 years ago, and I can't remember where I saw it, and it's one of those really annoying things where you've seen something good and then you can never remember where you saw it, so you can't seem to find it again. But it showed those original videos and tapes, and that's where the story came from. And it's so funny and sad, and there's no pause in the whole thing, there's no interval. You just go through the whole thing of the story of who makes it. And that is and I just love the music from it. It's really witty, and it's really good fun to play, and it's hard, and it's fun. So that's been my favourite show to MD. I've done it twice. And I like Into the Woods, because that's just good fun.
That's a good musical to
That's
like,
just really, it's just really good fun to play.
even if it's horrifically difficult.
Oh, it is horrifically difficult, but by the time you've played it twice, it's kind of, it's fine. So those would probably be my top two favourite that I've MD'd myself.
Well, I mean, if we're mentioning Into the Woods, I think I have to pose the awkward question. As someone who has potentially MD'd some of the shows, how do you feel about the TV film adaptations?
Oh, James Corden just needs to go away.
They've set a petition
That's
to make sure he
mine.
doesn't get into the Wicked.
I saw that petition. I did see that petition. You know my love of screenshotting stupid memes about musicals and classical music on various Instagram-related feeds. How do I feel about... Well, there's lots of really good people in the film for Into the Woods. I love Emily Blunt. I think she's fantastic, and I loved her in the reboot of Mary Poppins. I just loved that. And that was a soundtrack I listened to on repeat for 6 months solid in my car. And I've got the music for that, obviously, at home. And there's also, I love Anna Kendrick as well. She's fab. And Anna Kendrick has got proper Broadway credits. You know, she's a proper Broadway performer, and she's very funny, and she's on Pitch Perfect, and all of those types of films as well. I think it is absolutely possible to be crossover and to have people who are good. But equally, I think stage shows have but for musicals have always crossed between the two. So West Side Story, for example, there's a reboot of West Side Story coming out this year. I don't think they're in themselves a bad thing, but I hate James Corden.
So Into the Woods gets rid of all of the comedy that's in Into the Woods. All the bits where like people laugh is just skipped over.
Well, I don't know, because the bit with Chris Pine in the waterfall singing Agony is still quite funny.
But even the opening scene where all of the funny bits, like about milking the cow, that's a really obscure reference.
Yeah, I was going to say, for someone who hasn't seen this is a strange.
We're going really deep now.
There's no comedic pause. I think
to be honest, I've only seen the film of it a couple of times because it's one of those things where it holds a really sort of special place in my heart, and I'm a funny one when it comes to watching and listening things that I've played and been in. I don't know, I prefer to have a memory of what I've done with a piece of work rather than necessarily looking at another version of it, if you see what I mean. Yeah. And I hate James Corden.
As a musical director, have you found it easier to direct musicals that are complete musical through, or musicals that have like chunks of not monologues but dialogue
in them? It really depends. It depends what your director's like and what your choreographer's like, because I mean, I've done shows in previous schools where I was literally everything, so I did all the directing, all the choreographing with help of friends of mine who were choreographers and dancers and things, because it's not really my thing. My favourite projects are the ones where I am literally MDing and I don't have to even think about anything else. I can't bear having to do like costumes and all of that kind of stuff, because it doesn't interest me in the slightest, and I just have no idea what I'm doing. And I work best as a team where I have responsibility for all of the music and booking the band and sorting all of that stuff out and conducting and playing on the night. So I mean, a lot of the groups that I've worked with previously and I'm starting to work with again, which is lovely. I've been asked this last week to take part in 2 projects, one next year, 2022, and one in 2023. And I'm really looking forward to it because they're both with teams of people that I know really well and I trust. And, in drama and dance rehearsals, I literally sit there and wait till someone tells me what to do. And then those of you, everyone in this room knows me fairly well, so you might find that difficult to imagine. But but actually, I know it's crazy. But actually, I think one of the reasons why, because my mum always used to say to me, "Why do you take on so many things when you're so busy at work?" Everything. It was just like the never-ending sort of telling me off about it. You're so busy, but it was actually because it was really nice to be doing something where I wasn't in charge of everything. So I'd go to dialogue rehearsals and run-through rehearsals, and I just sit. It's lovely in those rehearsals. I just sit and I read through the script, and I start to play when it's my go to play, and then I stop again, and then I just get to sit and reflect, and that's really nice.
So I'm going to make a confession now. There are a lot of musicals I haven't seen, unlike these guys who are clearly excellent. One of the things I've never seen
is it Les Mis?
I haven't seen. I've seen the film of Les Mis. I've never seen The Sound of Music. I know this is a terrible admission. So tell me about what am I like? If I had to say, let's say 3 things you think I should educate myself on and really go for.
Well, Hamilton, obviously.
Hamilton, I've seen. Ha! There you go.
Have you seen it live?
No. Does that not count?
No.
Oh, but
I've seen it. This is where I say I've seen it live twice, and I've been in the pit for it once, and I've been backstage.
You basically are Hamilton.
I basically am Hamilton, and I am Hamilton. Which 3 musicals do I think you should see for your education? Was that the question? Because I got distracted by
just what would you recommend as a bit of a novice?
And then we're coming back to I hate Les Mis because
there is going to be contrast in here.
I hate Les Mis.
We're talking about that.
Fight over that in a bit.
I really cannot bear it. No, which 3 musicals? Well, I think Hamilton is really important because I think that it was so groundbreaking in so many ways, and I think that Lin-Manuel Miranda is he's one of those people, and again, Tom will attest to this because I probably know Tom the best out of everyone in this room because I spend a lot of time with Tom, is that we know that I get really obsessed about a particular thing and I talk about it a lot and I research it a lot and I listen to it a lot, and Lin-Manuel Miranda's writing, his prose is just extraordinary, and the more you listen to Hamilton, the more you hear. Every single time you listen to it, you hear a different thing, and actually the music is fairly repetitive, don't shoot me. But it is such a powerful piece of theatre. You cannot describe. It is like nothing else, and I think it's really important as a piece of social commentary, and on so many levels, and the choreography and everything about it is just such a wonderful, wonderful thing. Two others. I mean, I love The Sound of Music. I love The Wizard of Oz just simply for the bit when she opens the door and it's in black and white, and she opens the door, it's in colour when she lands. And I just think for a moment in cinema, that is just such a pivotal moment in the development of cinema and musical theatre. I think that is just... And my interesting fact about that, love the IMDb trivia database, is that they actually had to paint a study, an understudy or a stand-in, they had to paint her back grey. So that when they opened the door, because they didn't have the technology to do that. So there's a scene where she opens the door when the house lands in Kansas. And her silhouette, you see her from the back, and she's in black and white and sort of grey, sepia. And they actually had to paint her so that she could see that, because they didn't have... And like things like that I just love. And I love Wicked because of all of the... Although I don't love the music, but I love all the kind of references to Wizard of Oz.
Especially
from that. I mean, I just love all of that. And Avenue Q's hilarious, and Book of Mormon is hilarious and awful in equal measure. Be really careful who you go and see the Book of Mormon with. There were a lot of people who left in the interval when I went to see it. I loved it.
It's such a brilliant musical.
It's so funny, and I love the fact that the same people who wrote that are the same people who wrote Frozen, which is why I love the music for Frozen as well. And there's so much kind of interconnectedness between all these people, because obviously Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote the music for Moana.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
you see, it's all and Alan Menken, Little Shop of Horrors. How could I forget that? That's wonderful as well.
Oh, I've seen that at the schools. That counts, doesn't it?
Do you think people underestimate the cultural significance and the cultural impact that musical theatres have had? Musical theatres had. Think about The Sound of Music. So my dad was quite serious when he said that his auntie took them to see The Sound of Music, that they went 13 times.
Wow.
They actually went 13 times when that was released.
Gosh.
And that was the soundtrack for that was bigger selling than anything the Beatles did in the 60s.
Really? Oh,
That was one of
wow.
the biggest selling things of the entire decade. And sometimes people are very sniffy about musical theatre and musicals.
People
But
are
actually,
really- I taught them
most
down.
people, this is what people go and see. This is most of the West End now.
Absolutely.
This is hugely significant.
And I think that there's people are very snobby about it. People are very dismissive about it. And I think that it has this kind of reputation because obviously you've got the West End that's mainly run by Cameron Mackintosh and Andrew Lloyd Webber. So you do have I mean, God, I hate Cats, and Phantom of the Opera is the most dated thing in the entire universe.
School of Rock.
School of Rock. I like School of Rock. I like it. We can argue about that later, but I really like.
No, you'll be
School
busy
of...
arguing with me about Les Mis. Actually, there's an order, there's a queue for these arguments.
Yeah, no, we do have to. My opinions about musical theatre are strong and unbending. I loved School of Rock. I liked School of Rock more than I liked Matilda, and I've argued with so many people about that. Matilda's overrated.
School of Rock is like all of
No,
Lloyd
but I
Webber's
never
art.
said that I thought the music was better in School of Rock. I just enjoyed it more. And I think Tim Minchin is very, very funny, and I think he writes good songs.
It's a shame
Do
he's
I
Lloyd
think
Webber.
that he can? Do I think that Matilda holds up all the way through? Yeah. Sorry, you can't see my expression on the podcast, but I really love
Disbelief. For those who can't see, that was a look of ironic disbelief.
Yes, absolutely. Very well described there, Mr. Till. But no, I mean, I liked School of Rock. But we're allowed to disagree, Tom. I've told you this before. We don't all have to like the same things. Do you want to argue about Les Mis now?
I think you should.
Well,
I hate it.
Why do you hate it?
Awful.
Because it's,
Sorry, everyone.
the songs are brilliant. It's emotional. It's about life's big thing. That bit at the start when he suddenly realises he has that line about, he said that the priest who he steals from, he says, "I have a soul. How does he know?" There's just such kind of meat to the things. But you need to see it on stage because the film is
I think
horrific.
not as good. Apart from
I
Anne Hathaway,
think
who's
for
great.
me, she's very good. I think for me, it's always just rung a bit hollow, and I don't know why. Because there's plenty of other musicals that people dismiss that they have a more emotional response to. Maybe I am just dead inside. That is a possibility, Mr. Till, that could be the reason. But it just doesn't I don't know. I just don't have a response. It leaves me, I can't describe it. It just leaves me completely cold. I just don't engage with it at all, with the characters, with any of it. And funnily enough, my middle sister, who I previously referenced, she's got a proper job now. She's a lawyer. She doesn't still dabble in musical theatre. But whenever anything comes up about Les Mis, we always have to text each other and go, "Oh my God, I hate Les Mis." But we were saying that, I was saying to another student the other day, we were talking about, I was arguing with them about why I hated Les Mis. And I was saying that in orchestra pits, when you play with other people, you know, when you go and play for a week or whatever, a couple of weeks, and do these things, that is literally the opinion that whenever you say you hate Les Mis, it divides people, and people will never let you alone. It's like they have to try and convert you to the other one. So I've actually witnessed quite strong reactions amongst musicians when I've said, "No, I just really, really hate it." And they're like, "But why?" I just do. I'm sorry.
That's a good thing. There's more chance I'll get a seat next time. Some people don't like it.
Absolutely. But we don't all have to like the same thing.
No.
A fun bit of trivia about why the movie is horrific. Director didn't let them drink at all on set during the recording, and they had like 7-hour shoots, live shoots. So everything was sung live on a sound stage with an accompaniment sitting in what was effectively a fish tank with a piano. Then they basically used that piano track to record an orchestra. But the director didn't let any of them drink on set during
That sounds
the day.
illegal.
So a lot of them went very...
Alcohol.
No, drink water.
Most musicals,
Well, as musicians,
that's a bold,
yes,
bold strategy.
absolutely.
Which meant that a lot of them went very close to damaging their voices, and it's why what's his name? Wolverine.
Russell
Hugh
Crowe.
Jackman.
Hugh Jackman. Let's not talk about him.
He can't sing anyway.
Hugh Jackman sounds so hoarse and rubbish in that is because he was singing it live on set and hadn't drunk water for 7 hours, basically.
Wow.
There we go. That's a good
That's
fact.
a good fact.
Good fact.
Still hate it though. Sorry.
It is allowed.
I suppose, actually related to Les Mis, do you think that musicals sort of rooted in a historical event like that, do you think they're more powerful than something like The Wizard of Oz, which is
Historical as
completely...
well.
It's historical as well.
In a
the
sense.
documentary, The Wizard of Oz. I don't know really. I mean, it's just the same as with opera and with Shakespeare and all those kinds of things. You have modern, you have modern costume representations of Macbeth and things like that, don't you? And Hamlet and all of that. You know, it's people, directors make choices about how they represent things. I think that what Broadway and the West End can do, though, is they can almost mummify a performance. You know, if something's being performed every day for 30 years straight, it does become dated.
Phantom of the Opera.
Absolutely, 100%. And in the same way that, you know, for example, The Mousetrap, which Agatha Christie running in the West End for 60 odd years. Funnily enough, I just want to shoehorn this in. Someone I used to teach was in The Mousetrap, and one of the loveliest things I've ever got to do was to go and watch him on a Saturday matinee, and then got to go backstage and stand on the stage and see the set and everything. It was just wonderful. But that's very much, people almost go and see The Mousetrap because it's been running for 60 years. Is it a great piece of theatre? Is it popular because tourists just go to it to say that they've been to see it? You know, and I do think that some musicals outlive their relevance simply by virtue of the tourist type of effect. You know, tourists come to London and they go and see Phantom. So, in answer to your question, I don't know really whether it's got much to do with their historical background as to whether it's once a musical kind of gets into popular culture, it becomes less trendy but continues to make money. And at the end of the day, the West End and Broadway are money-making machines. That's what they exist for. So,
about musical theatre as a whole, in a way, do you think there should be, because I feel at some schools, and if you look in terms of government funding for music and the arts at schools, do you think there should be more of an emphasis placed on musical theatre at schools, or do you think...
Great question.
Great
yes,
question. Love
I
that.
think that everyone should just stop doing English and maths. Sorry,
You
Mr.
can't-
Barnes.
We need to be allies, Mum. Work together.
And I hate
Well,
English.
musical theatre is.
No, I know. No, I mean, I think that there is so much to be gained. You gain so much from any sort of project work that that means that people have to work together and playing to strengths and all of those kinds of things. And it's like the school trip factor, isn't it? That you see students in a totally different light when you take them out of, and staff and colleagues in a totally different light when you take them out of the classroom and you're doing something different. And actually the soft skills that you learn from working on a project and putting a project together, whatever that project might be, are often far greater than the sum of the knowledge that you would have learned had you been sitting in a classroom learning about a particular thing. Music is a practical subject. Music should be fun. I'm sure that some people listening to this who've been in my lessons might not agree with that being my teaching philosophy. But I mean, I absolutely think that putting on performances is a hugely important part of development, because even if it's not your thing, it's pushing you out of your comfort zone. And one of the things that, funny enough, thinking about School of Rock, that I actually really like about the film is the fact that he takes a class of students and he gives everybody something to do that plays to their strengths. So there's a costume designer, there's this, that, the other. And it is very funny, and some of it is very silly. But as the older I've got and I watch that film now, I do think that sort of sense of everybody coming together for something is hugely important.
Okay, I think we're going to move on to quick fire questions.
Quick fire round. Find out a bit more about Mrs Bingham. Are you ready?
Yeah, go.
Quick fire round. Let's go. Favourite book?
Probably, I like Sherlock Holmes.
Biscuit of choice?
Custard cream.
If you could teach another subject other than music, what would it be?
One that involved no marking whatsoever. So it would probably have to be not maths.
Drama.
Teach drama with me. Please come teach drama
It would
with me.
have to be drama, I think.
I'd love that.
Yeah.
What's the best musical that most people listening will never have heard of?
Oh, you see, I'm pretty mainstream in my sort of listening tastes. So the best musical that people will probably not have heard, Chess. The music's amazing, and it's really hard to play, but really satisfying once you've learnt it. And funny enough, when I MD'd it a few years ago, and then another society got in touch with me and said, could I go and play for their auditions? And the music is really quite tricky. And I said, yes, of course, that's no problem. Anyway, of course, the people who'd booked me knew that I'd played it before, but nobody else in the room did. So they thought I was some sort of absolute genius, because they thought I was sight reading all of this stuff from scratch. And people kept coming up to me in the coffee break and going, you're just so talented. And I kept going, yes, I am. It was really great.
Mrs Bingham has misunderstood the nature of the quickfire round.
Sorry.
Ouch. I have a quick fire question. Where did you get your nails done? Because I like them very much.
Where did I get my nails done? I got them done in a little nail place just down the road from my house. That was my I've escaped from COVID, let me out the house treat to myself.
Nice. I approve.
This is why most of our listeners will be listening for the where did you get your nails done?
Sorry, that was a very personal question.
Content we
Teenage boys. That's the one.
Target audience.
Absolutely. Favourite
Flavour of ice cream?
Flavour ice. The one with praline nut brittle Haagen-Dazs.
Favourite pasta?
Oh, tagliatelle, fresh tagliatelle.
Favourite character in a film?
Gosh, that's
hard. I really like, and this is, I don't know if this is
Jean Valjean.
No, but I can't remember the name of the character. But Reese Witherspoon in Legally Blonde, I think she's fabulous. I think she is fantastic because she gets to Harvard Law, and I just love it. It's such a good film. But yes, she's probably my favourite character. I think she's hilarious.
Nice. That's a quick fire round.
That was great.
And there is a clue today, and all I'm saying is that there is a clue today.
What?
The clue has happened.
There wasn't a clue in Series 2, Episode 1, and there wasn't a clue the last time. But today, there is a clue, and that's all I'm saying.
Oh,
Does that mean
sir.
that a clue has happened and we are completely oblivious to it?
I will leave people to their
Was there anything that
deductions.
seemed completely out of place? Anyway, this is not the place to have
Jean
that
Valjean.
discussion.
Just about to say, it's
Maybe
a
that's the
miss.
clue. No, that definitely came out. Well, that was brilliant. I can't believe how quickly the time has gone, and we've run out of time already. So thank you to our fantastic guest, Mrs Bingham, who's really given me a lot to go away and educate myself on. So I need to really I am a theatre mad person, so I just need to go more theatre mad musical style. And thank you to my fantastic panellists with their brilliant range of questions, all very different and informative, and giving Mum the chance to really expand upon her endless knowledge. I'm quite intimidated by your levels of skill, Mum. I need to, Yeah, grade 1 piano me, so, nearly on a par, right?
We
That's
should
nearly
do
on
a
a par.
grade one-a-thon.
Grade 1-a-thon. Right, what
It's
we're
called
going to...
among non-musical staff.
That would be...
I did grade
car
1
crash.
violin because somebody dared me to.
That sounds painful.
Yeah.
Something
We
I
need to
probably
encourage.
shouldn't admit is that I will do most things for a dare.
Okay.
And there was a 20-mile walk at a previous school where someone said, "I bet you can't walk 20 miles," and I said, "I bet I can." I swear to God, I nearly died. And then I didn't check in when I got back, so he said that I had never done it. He lives in Australia now. We no longer speak.
Is that why he moved?
Yeah, basically.
What a bombshell. What a bombshell. Thank you to Mr. Till for being my lovely, co-host as usual.
Thank you very
and
much.
thank you to our fantastic editing team. We've got Thomas H from Year 11 on today.
Yes.
Obviously, we've got Thomas H in the room with us as well, and we've got a lovely team of people helping out every time. And thank you for listening. And please, like last time, I'll send an email out with a lovely quiz question on it in addition to Sir's Clue, so you can try and earn yourself a house point and communicate with us, because it's lovely to have had so many communications and lovely emails about it.
Yeah.
I think that is all I need to say.
No, do get in touch so we
Yes.
don't feel as if we're all just talking into the void.
Absolutely. And you've got, this is actually, I was going to say about the poetry competition, but it's going to be closed by the time this goes out, isn't it?
Oh,
but I
possibly.
hope you entered the poetry competition in English on the theme of time. I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did. Okay, have a lovely week, and we hope to be with you again soon. Thank you.